there's a lot of speculation. Some people will say that things really switched up with Pac by the time he got to death row and incorporated different personas and different influences and gang culture and other things that weren't really part of his music before. Do you have any thoughts on that? Like, because it seems like just from the outside looking in that now once he was on death row, it was a lot less of, like, let's say, the digital underground kind of connection or influence. Or
Well, I would say to people that think that he changed into this super thug afterwards is absolutely false. If anybody knew Pac, he was wilder earlier. He actually, by the time you guys knew who he was, he had calmed down a little bit because he came from nothing. He just was, whatever it took, he was almost like, you have somebody that's in a corner and whatever they got to do to get out, they're willing to do.
survival mode.
He was in super survival mode.
Right.
And, because he didn't have much, he stood on respect, and like anything could just tick him off, right? And I think he had us, meaning, Shock, me, Sloof, Jim, all of us to kind of be the guys. He hated, I used to always be like, calm down. He hated when people come to calm down. But I used to always tell him that, like when he want to do something, or, we in a city and he want to go fight these dudes in this city, but it's just us and he want to go fight 20 dudes. I'm like, bro, we can't do that.
Yeah.
I was like, slow down.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So he had there was a structure within, our collective that would not allow him to go as hard as he wanted to go all the time. Even though he would still get upset, and he'd call me every name in the book. Y'all some motherfucker, da-da-da. I remember one time he told me, he was like, man, when I get my own shit, I'm going to have motherfuckers that's going to follow me. They're going to do what I want to do, and we're going to ride, we're going to do. He was saying that shit back in the day. We wouldn't allow it. I think once he got to that other situation, there was nobody to keep him.
Voice of reason.
No voice of reason. Because by the time he got there, he was the star that they were looking at.
Right.
Him and, maybe Suge next to him. So he didn't have anybody to pull him a voice of reason. So whatever he had those same thoughts and those same sort of, wants to do, though, he wanted to do the same thing, right? He had the same attitude, but we wouldn't allow him to put himself out there like that. When he got to this other situation, from the outside looking in, it just seems like there was nobody, no voice of reason, nobody be like, hey, you know what? Let us do it. Or, he did it.
So it wasn't that he had a personality change. It was that it was less influences around him to help.
Yes, I believe. Less, maybe less. So there could be a combination of things. Less voices of reason just in his ear. But from what I understand, there were some people that was actually trying to advise him. But by that time, he was the main person who should have been was the one egging him on to do it. You know what I mean? So it was like, think about it. When he's coming up, if me and Shock and Jimmy and Fuse and Atron are not, because we came in it and we were the stars of Digital Underground, if we were not over him, we were at least his peer.
Right.
You know what I mean? At the very least, we were his peer that could talk to him this way. He gets over there, there's only a few people over there that are his peer. And those that were his peer were not telling him that. And there are other people. Now, he's looking not down, but you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, it's almost like he was at the height of his power, you could say.
Yeah. And when you have that power, now you can do whatever you want.
Right. How you going to tell the boss what to do?
Exactly. Right. And maybe some of the other bosses, like I said, I from what I heard, there might have been one or two, bosses that on the level maybe hinting that there was another way, but the main boss and the boss, they weren't the ones that could have actually stopped him from doing certain things. Didn't do that. They were actually the ones supporting the behavior.
Right.
And, that's what happens.
Yeah, and I'm sure in retrospect, I mean, you don't think that what happened to him is that high of a possibility. I mean, nowadays it's so crazy. It's like every year rappers get murdered, bro.
Yeah.
Every year rappers get murdered. But like back then, the fact that happened was such a shock.
Can I say it like this? You can say every year rappers get murdered, but what I see it is that people get murdered that pose as rappers because they're not really in the culture like that. As soon as, how many times do we look on social media and you'd be like, Steppy Sin just got murdered. You'd be like, who? Steppy Sin?
Yeah.
Some dude, just because he made a mixtape that 10 people got, they say rapper Steppy Sin.
That's
and
true.
They put him as part of us, but he's not. He really wasn't. And you see these dudes that jump on, but I ain't even really a rapper. I just do this to do. Then you're not a rapper.
Yeah.
You just some dude that's about to get murdered. And when you do, they say rapper Steppy Sin got murdered.
Yeah.
And it's not, to me, it's not the same. Now, let's say this. Young black men get murdered every year, more and more people, and that probably had an opportunity to do something different get murdered. That's the problem. But I kind of have a problem with just because this guy dressed up and he hangs with somebody who probably is a rapper, part of their crew, he gets murdered, but he was about to get signed. But he really got signed because he was one of your hitmen. Or they used to sell sell dope for you, and you put him on. Yeah. Now he's a rapper, but he's not really a rapper.
Or there's some artists now that people follow them because of those antics.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They do that.
Yeah.
The antics are more important than the actual art.
Right.
Right. The art is secondary. So are they really an artist, or are they just some guy, that's doing these things, and rap is just another way that he thinks he can easily make some money.
No, that's
and he doesn't respect the art.
Recognize where you got the game. We got our own style, got our own slang. Northern California is a West Coast thing. This is the history of the Bay. Recognize where you got the game. We got our own style, got our own slang. Northern California is a West Coast thing. This is the history of the Bay.